I mean, yeah, Tunku, it is very interesting. I mean, they put you as the former national vice chairman of the AP. That, I think, that is one of the highest position in the AP. So obviously, you know what's their agenda, what are they doing, what are they planning to. So obviously, you know everything. So that's why your insights just now is pretty much clear and also detailed on what are they planning to and who are they actually. So Tunku, the AP claims that their party is multiracial, so they have representatives from each party, from each race, I'm sorry, including the Malays. So what is your comment on this, Tunku?
My comment is that in spite of their claims that theirs was a multiracial, multicultural party, in practice, they were not.
All right.
Their main interest was to promote Chinese chauvinism.
All right, chauvinism.
And although they don't say that openly to you, but you could, look at the body language.
True that.
You look at how they actually relate to the Chinese as opposed to their relationships with the Indians, for example.
Yeah.
And of course, there were very few Malays. There were very, very few Malays. And the AP is not a democratic party in that sense.
All right, sure.
It is really a party control, yes, by the Lim family.
True.
And by Karpal. But even Karpal, as chairman, really had very little power,
right.
very little say. Yeah, it is the Secretary General, which is a bit like the Communist Party. Right. Secretary General was the most powerful figure. So when I saw this, I said to myself, I'm not going to stay around. So just before Bersih 3, I got up in the Senate and said that I was resigning.
All right.
Yes, from the AP, and not just from my position as a vice chairman, but also, as a member. And of course, that was the beginning of my problems, because this party operates like the Communist Party. If you join the Communist Party of Malaya, and then you walked away, they will send killer squads to get rid of you.
True that.
And similarly, when they got me in, I didn't apply, I was invited. They said, what they call, described me as a towering Malay. But when I left, it was another story.
All right.
Yeah?
True. Tunku, we all know, I think most of the people, especially the Malays, know the story of what the AP had been doing years back then. Who doesn't know the story of the AP going around Kuala Lumpur saying Malays, that was one of the popular story that was being spreaded, that was being told by us, by our Dato' Nenek, during that era. At one particular time, we've seen that the AP started to recruit all the Malays into their parties. And now, we see another scenario which is happening now. Is actually the Malays inside the AP is going out from the AP. But some of them still stay in the AP. So what's your point on that? Are those who get out from the AP now actually had realized what is actually the AP's agenda, and those who are still in the AP now doesn't realize what's happening now? Are they actually being paid high money for them to just shut up their mouth, or What's your comment on that?
I really don't know, because when I left them in 2012, I, you know, didn't get involved in any of their politics. But certainly, I think, you know, if Malays believe that the AP will look after them and their interests, then they should think again.
I think that's a big warning for the Malays.
Yes, they should. Because don't forget, the AP is an offshoot of PAP of Singapore.
True that, yes.
Right. And we know what Lee Kuan Yew was in his relations with the Malays. He used the Malays, to get into Malaysia. You know, he put on the songkok and you know,
talking around.
Yes,
and meeting people. You know, that time
Malay was national language and so on and so forth. But the moment he got in, it was different. The moment he got in, it was really to make life difficult for us. He talked about Malaysia.
True.
Right? And this was carried over by the AP.
True.
Yeah. To them, one Malaysia was not on.
True.
It had to be Malaysia, and then this talk about Malaysian first and so on. It's all rubbish. Which of them would say they were Malaysian first? Yeah?
Yep.
They're Chinese first, and I am Malay first.
True.
Culturally, I am Malay. It's not my race, it's not Malay that determines my outlook. It is my culture.
True.
That you cannot change. The Malay culture is part of being a Malay.
Sure.
Similarly with them. But for political reasons, they talk about, yes, they challenge Tan Sri, what's her name? The Deputy Prime Minister before, Muhyiddin.
Muhyiddin, yes.
Because Muhyiddin said he was Malay first. Oh, they really, you know, made him look as if he was, you know, betraying the whole concept of Malaysia, etc. But, you know, these people are good for that kind of thing. The other thing which I noticed was that they're very good at picking
issues.
Yes. Or created issues.
Yes.
For example, for years and years, they were telling the Chinese that the Chinese were second-class citizens.
Oh, wow.
Now, and they kept repeating this, and the Chinese believed they were second class. But how on earth can they say they're second class? They are citizens of the country. They are equal before the law. They are not deprived of land ownership,
True.
as in other countries. And where else in the world, you know, would they be allowed to have their own schools?
True that.
Yes.
Yes.
So, you know, to talk about being second class, about being marginalized and so on, was totally dishonest.
I see.
It was intended really to create a division, yeah, and of course, you know, to kill off MCA.
True.
Because they were the champions of the Chinese and
True
Chinese interests. So when I look at this party, what they said was one thing, but what they did was quite something else.
True. I mean, Tunku, post general election 14, I think we need to agree that there are lots and lots of racial issues coming in. I mean, racial issues have been very much crucial in our country nowadays. Now, the Malays are actually being seen as oppressed by the AP. I mean, that's the thing that has been discussed by most of the Malays now. So, from your point of view, are the Malays now really being oppressed by the AP, who is now one of the component party which holds the government?
Yeah. Well, perhaps not physically oppressed.
Yes.
You know, they're not going around beating up Malays.
True that.
But when you see what they are doing, because Dr. Mahathir is not really providing the kind of leadership that would look after the interests of the Malays, because I think the government is being run by the DAP.
All right.
Yeah, they dictate the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when you look at the way,
Mm-hmm.
for example, that they have taken over Khazanah,
True that.
Tabung Haji, Felda, Sime Darby, and so on. These were Malay institutions created to bring up the Malays economically. But now, you know, all these things are under their control.
True.
So I think this is the kind of thing that you can see within 1.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all the efforts that have been put in by Malays for the betterment of our people, they have disappeared.
True.
Yeah. So I think if you're looking at it from that point of view,
Mm-hmm.
yes, to use your words, Malays are being
I
oppressed.
see. Tunku, when we look at the parliament, I mean parliament seats, we know that the AP is one of the most highest, holds the most highest number of parliament seats among other parties of Pakatan Harapan. So, as for that, Tunku, is it really true that most of the things that have been decided by the government, the dasa-dasa and all the things that have been announced by the government is actually being controlled by the AP, and the decision maker is actually DAP, because actually, obviously, they hold the largest number of seats in the parliament. So yeah, what's your point on that?
Well, I think that is what everyone seems to think the real position is. Yeah. You know, when you look around and you see the agenda which is now being pushed through
True.
and being taken forward, there is no doubt that they are calling the shots. Not Mahathir, because Mahathir is beholden to them.
Mm-hmm.
He, with his 13 seats, he has to depend on DAP support.
True.
And he can't really go against them. Because if they withdraw their support, his party is finished.
True.
He will no longer be the prime minister.
True that.
So you can see that although they are what they call
The party.
yes, they are just another party.
Yes, yes.
But they are powerful in the sense that they have more seats.
True.
And Mahathir totally is beholden to them. He depends on them. Yeah, I don't know, but I think within the next 6 months we can perhaps get a clearer picture.